Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here and welcome back to another video for The Division 2. And today I want to take some time to talk about skill tiers and the new Overcharge mechanic. If you guys have jumped into the new expansion or the new update, you'll of course know that the gear system has been overhauled. And while I'm not going to go through all the different changes in this video, I do want to speak specifically about skill tiers, because for those of you guys that like playing with skills, like making skill builds, this is actually an incredible change. And I do really like this new system. See, at its core, when you go and equip a piece of gear, you'll of course see that different items have different core attributes. In this case, all the masks are skill tier, but if we jump over to, say, the backpacks, you can of course see that we have an armor tier, and if we jump over to something like the chest pieces, you can of course see that you have your damage tiers. Now, these can of course roll on every single individual piece, so if you want to lean more into weapon damage, you can of course equip those. If you want to lean more into armor, you can of course equip those. But for skills specifically, if you go and equip all the different skill pieces, you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, just below some of your stats, you will see your skill tiers. And if you then go and swap around your gear, you'll of course see that the skill tier here will be influenced by the number of pieces you have that have the skill tier as the core attribute. So, unlike in the past where if you had to kind of, worry about juggling your specific skill value to try and bolster your skills, instead you literally work around a tier system, which is much easier to manage. You basically have tiers 1 through 6, and there is also a special overcharge mechanic tied to a couple of different pieces of gear. Now, when you actually go and take a look at your skills, if you go and inspect any item, this applies to every single one. We'll take a look at the brand new shock trap, for example. If you scroll down here, you can then see that they have different behaviors based on the tier that you're in. So for the shock trap, tier 1 has +2 traps, has a 10% shock radius and 10% shock duration. Meanwhile, if you then jump up to say tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, you can of course see the bonus additional traps increase, the shock radius increases, the shock duration increases, and this of course goes all the way up to tier 6 and then overcharge, which we'll speak about in just a moment. Now, of course, this applies differently to different things, but generally if you look at something like the Hive, you will of course get additional stinger charges, you get a much greater radius, it of course has more health in itself, or something like, say, a good old favourite of mine, the sticky bomb, then this in itself also gives you a much greater blast radius, skill haste, things like that. So basically, if skills are your thing and you want to lean more into skills than you do, say, weapons, then going up those skill tiers is incredibly important. Also, it's worth noting that thanks to the way that recalibration has changed, if you go to the recalibration station and you go to the recalibration library, you can extract those core attributes from pieces of armor. Now, I've done this for most of mine already, but if you go and click on an item and you go core attributes, you can then withdraw or extract a core attribute that you want. So if we go over here, you can see that for all these items, I've already extracted the skill tier attribute because I just really want to have skill tier on everything. But for demonstration purposes, I can extract, say, the armor tier from this backpack. It will of course consume it, but in doing this, if I then go back to the recalibration station, I can then take pieces of armor that I want, pieces of armor that I like, and I can then apply different things to them. So if I went and took, say, this piece of body armor that I particularly liked, but I wanted to turn it into a skill focused piece, I can instead throw the skill tier on there. That of course costs money and materials, but you can then use this to create the loadout that you want. However, as mentioned before, there is one additional tier to this, the Overcharge tier. See, once you get to skill tier 6, which is by default the max, there are certain items, typically backpacks, that give you the ability to go into Overcharge. Now, there's one brand new one, the exotic backpack, which is Acosta's Go Bag, and this can drop from some of the different crates you can open around the world, be that Hyena crates, the new Riker crates, the Black Tusk crates, things like that. They appear to be dropping from quite a few different ones. But if you take a look at the first talent, you can see that damaging an enemy with a grenade grants +1 skill tier for 15 seconds. So obviously if you're at a lower skill tier, it would just boost it up. But if you're at level 6, it grants you Overcharge, which then if you return to look at one of the skills, of course has a tier in itself. So if I go to the shock trap and I go into Overcharge, that now gets +12 traps, +70% shock radius, and +200% shock duration. And if you look at some of the examples we have here on screen, you can of course see things like the sticky bomb gets a very sizable radius, or something like the Hive, Stinger Hive, also gets an incredibly big radius. It is worth noting this buff is only for a short duration, and some skills like, say, the Hive, if it is active and you throw it out whilst in Overcharge, once that 15-second buff goes away and you drop back down to tier 6, the radius will shrink. So it doesn't necessarily stay in that permanent status, but you can use this because of course if you link it to grenades, which you're using naturally anyway, then you can of course throw that out and you can then get more enemies in the process. There is, however, another backpack you can get if you don't have the exotic one. There is a regular backpack. Now, the skill isn't quite the same. It typically happens off the back of using an armor kit, so it isn't necessarily something you can use quite as frequently, but this does still exist in different forms. If you get that on, say, a different backpack, you could then extract that in the recalibration station, put that onto something you want. So there are different ways to get into Overcharge. It is only a temporary state. You can't permanently be in Overcharge unless there's some crazy build I have yet to discover, but either way, that is a way to take your skill builds to the next level. So, that's it for the time being. That was a quick look at the new Overcharge mechanic, the new skill tier system, and hopefully that's given you guys some ideas as to things you can start working towards. If you have any questions, by all means let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to keep it locked, because of course we've got plenty more Division content coming your way. And thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget, you can check out TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.